Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Boys and girls, it is draft week. We have finally made it to draft week. It is here, just a couple days away. Thursday, things kick off, and we could not be more excited, and honestly, I'm sure you guys feel the same, more ready to get this draft underway and start figuring out exactly what the Browns are going to do. Josh All, your host today on the Dogs Podcast, giving you guys my final mock draft roundup of the 2026 draft season. It's been a long ride. We have been talking draft picks forever. As soon as we got off of the coaching search and everything early on in the offseason, it was straight into the draft. So I've got a lot to go over today. I'm going to give you guys two different mock drafts on this final episode before everything kicks off Thursday night. And the first mock draft I'll run through pretty quickly. Honestly, it'll be my personal wish list, let's call it, mock draft that I want to do for the Cleveland Browns. If I were making the picks, my ideal scenario, how it's all going to play out after the last couple months of doing research and mock drafts and projections and all that kind of stuff. And then after that, I'm going to go through something I've never done before really on this show, but I'm going to try it out. I want to walk through a mock draft scenario, my actual prediction for what I think the Browns could very well do on Thursday night and into the weekend. So I'm going to kind of take it from an Andrew Berry standpoint, base it off things that I know he's done in the past and things that I think he could very well do here this week. So if you guys can't tell before I get started, my voice nasally sounds like garbage, at least to me. I don't know how it's coming through on the microphone here. I swear, I just cannot stop being sick with these kids. And then it doesn't help when it's, 85 degrees and all of a sudden drops down into the 30s. Like that just, this time of year sucks. But I'm on every single cold medication known to mankind, using nasal sprays out the wazoo. Hopefully by Thursday night, I will be fully ready to go. We will see. I do not want to be coughing and sniveling all over the broadcast Thursday, but make sure you guys tune in on YouTube regardless. Again, I'll just take myself off the show if that's the case, and I'll just produce from the back behind the camera, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. Thursday night, 7:45, YouTube, we kick off our first round coverage live in studio. Me, Justin, Blake, Kenny Mack will all be together like we do every single year, bringing you guys coverage, going through the picks, in the chat. Make sure you guys join us, and it's going to be a ton of fun figuring out and watching everything unfold, and then honestly the reactions in real time to what the Browns decide to do. You don't want to miss that. So that's Thursday night, 7:45. We kick off. We'll do a little pregame show, and 8 o'clock, baby, it gets started. So I want to talk about a couple things before we switch gears and talk about these mock draft scenarios. The first one, a little bit breaking news over the weekend here. There was some reports on, I think it was Saturday, that the Browns were actually engaged in trade talks with the New York Giants over their defensive tackle, Dexter Lawrence. They're all-pro, Pro Bowler defensive tackle. And Jared Muller was reporting that the Browns had offered their second-round pick 39 to the Giants in exchange for Dexter Lawrence. Giants were hesitant. It was the best offer they'd received to that point. Reportedly, again, none of this was actually confirmed, but again, it doesn't shock me. I mean, Andrew Berry's in trade talks for a defensive tackle. Duh, that makes perfect sense. So we knew Dexter Lawrence wanted out of New York. He had requested a trade, contract dispute, all that kind of stuff. This is nothing not untypical for NFL players and their teams. This kind of stuff happens all the time. So the Browns, obviously, it would not shock me one bit to know that they were checking and made an offer just to say, hey, what about pick 39? You send us that disgruntled defensive tackle of yours. So anyway, then a couple hours later, we get a breaking news report. There is a trade. Dexter Lawrence is coming to the AFC North. He is coming to Ohio, but it's not Cleveland. He's coming to the Cincinnati Bengals in exchange for pick 10 in the draft starting on Thursday. So now the Giants have two top 10 picks. They got pick 5 of their own, and they got pick 10 of the Bengals. And now the Bengals have Dexter Lawrence. They locked him up to, what was it, a three-year extension, something like that, worth $28 million a year. I think I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. I don't have it pulled up, but something in that nature. So obviously, you trade the 10th overall pick for the guy, you're going to give him the contract that was in the works. So they get the defensive guy they want. So what this tells me, on the board, the way things are playing out, what they're hearing, what they're thinking, the Bengals are like, look, whoever it is that they were gunning for on defense at pick 10, they did not feel strongly was going to be available. Or they felt that none of the defensive guys on their board that they were looking at with pick 10 lived up to what they thought the value was of Dexter Lawrence. So they just swapped the pick. They said, here's pick 10. We'll take the proven stud and we'll pay him, which is not like the Bengals to do, but they are really in a win now. And I think this speaks to the pressure they're under with Joe Burrow and his career and the way things have gone. And they know they have this franchise quarterback at the moment who can play at a Super Bowl winning level. They need to, one, protect him on the offensive line, and two, they need to give the offense some relief and put a respectable defense on the field. So Dexter Lawrence becomes part of that. So how does this impact the Browns? Well, obviously now we got to face Dexter Lawrence twice a year with the Bengals. But it changes things a little bit for the draft board. You've got the Giants now not under as much pressure to make a harder decision at 5 when they know they've also got 10. We're looking at the Giants, and there have been reports, Adam Schefter and some of these guys talking about, well, they could go Sonny Styles 5, Caleb Downs 10, get their 2 defensive stalwarts. They could take Jordan Tyson at 10, get their top wide receiver that they want across from Malik Neighbors. Now options start to open up. Does this put more pressure on the Dallas Cowboys to try to get up into the top 10? Because now not only do they have the division rival Giants picking at 5 and the Cowboys pick at 12, now they got the Giants picking at 5 and 10, and they also have the Commanders picking at 7. So 3 division rivals picking ahead of them in that top 12 where Dallas would then be on the clock. It does make it, to me, seem a little more likely that Jerry Jones might feel a little more pressure now to get up. Because if he moves up to 6 with the Browns, obviously the Giants pick at 5, but then you get your pick at 6. You get ahead of the Commanders at 7. You get ahead of the Giants at 10. We're going to talk about some of these scenarios here in a little bit, so just hang tight with me, guys, on that one. So that was what went down with the trade news over the weekend. Okay, I'm going to move in. I got a message here from the website from Kevin. And again, everything I'm talking about right now is going to lead into this mock draft stuff that I'm going to present for you guys, so just hang tight. Oh, by the way, I got another voicemail today from Vinty, or not a voicemail, a message. So if you guys have been waiting for the return of Vinty, he is back. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. But first, the message from Kevin, and he says, hey guys, do you actually think Andrew Berry would actually trade down or get assets for 2027 with his job on the line? He kind of needs it to draft good players right now. What do you guys think? And that leads into what my draft scenario is going to be when I get to what I am predicting the Browns could potentially do on Thursday night. I want to see how much I want to say now and save for later, but I think that Andrew Berry, what he did in the draft last year, moving back from 2 to 5, trying to grab that first round pick in 2026, at the time you could tell, like, to the 2025 draft and the way they played that first round, they were setting up things for 2026. Remember, 2026 was supposed to be this historic quarterback class. It was the Arch Manning year. It was going to have all these quarterbacks, yada, yada. Best quarterback class we've seen. Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik and all these, Norris Sellers. It was going to be elite. Well, then the college football season played out, and none of those guys were any good whatsoever. And you have one quarterback worth a first-round pick, and that's it. So there are no quarterbacks to take in 2026. So for me, I feel like as much as I'm Andrew Berry hot seat guy, kind of like a lot of you guys are, like Kevin seems to be as well, I don't think it is. I think Andrew Berry is here for the long term. I think that there's an understanding between him and him and the ownership, the Haslams. I think we've kind of seen that in the moves that they've made and the decisions they've made. So I could see, since 2025 was a setup for 2026 to get your quarterback, but that didn't work. I could definitely see 2026 being a setup for 2027 to get your quarterback. That's kind of my belief on the philosophy of the Browns, the way they're playing this thing out, the status of the current rebuild and everything. So we'll talk about a lot of that. So Kevin, hang tight. I will explain a little bit more here in a little bit. I do have a voicemail I want to get to before we dive into the mock draft stuff, and this one is from Liam.
What is up, Dogs Podcast? It is Liam calling in from Calgary, Alberta, and I thought with the draft nearing closer that I should share who I have the Browns taking in my final Browns mock draft. So in the first round, I think we're going to trade back, and I think we're going to trade back with the Cowboys. I think they're going to give us, I think they have 12 and 20, and we are going to give them 6 and 39. So then with pick 12, I think we will take Mekhi Lemon, or it could be Caden Proctor. But in this mock draft, however, Caden Proctor fell to 20. So we went Mekhi Lemon at 12, and then we got Caden Proctor at 20. I don't know how realistic it is that Proctor falls to 20, but if he is there, I hope the Browns do take him. And then at pick 24, I have us taking Avion Terrell. If that's like my dream scenario, if the Browns can pull that off, obviously I still want us to keep 6 and draft Tate. But if we're able to pull that off in a trade down, let me know what you guys would think. Go Dogs. Woo-woo.
All right, Liam, thank you for the voicemail. I've seen this a lot. Obviously, it's been presented all over social media, the hypothetical trade projections for the Browns and the Cowboys. 6 and 39 nets us 12 and 20. The reason why I don't think that's going to happen, and you'll see why as I go through my mock draft prediction here in a little bit, but I'll just tell you now, I don't see the Browns wanting more first-round picks this year. I just don't see it. I don't see why. I see so many analysts saying, and it's not like this is new. They've been saying this for months. There's about 15 guys who have first-round grades in this draft class. So that means everything after pick 15 or so, or those top 15 guys, you got a second-round grade on a lot of those players. So there's an immediate devaluation, if that's even the right word, or if that's even a word, I don't know, of taking a guy at 20. Why would you take him at 20 with a first round pick when he's got a second round grade? Like, that's kind of the analytical thought process these GMs, these front offices go through, that us as fans are just looking at the draft board, the mock draft, data and projections and saying, oh, well, let's see it at 20, take Caden Proctor. Well, the Browns look at the pick 20 and say, there's not a first round grade for anybody here. Why would we use a first round pick on a player? And I think that's where the analytically driven teams get a lot of their decision making from. So no, I don't actually see them flipping 6 and 39 to Dallas for 12 and 20 because they don't want another first round pick this year. I just got done talking about how this draft is now a setup for 2027. Well, you don't set up 2027 by just getting another first round pick this year. But I'll talk about what I think the Browns will do, or could do, I should say, here in just a moment. Before I get into the mock draft stuff, make sure you guys, I forgot to say this up front, jointhedogs.com, get into our Discord community. We're having these kind of conversations in there with the Dog Pack community 24/7. This week is a big week in the Dog Pack. We're going to be bouncing ideas off of people and each other like crazy. So if you want a really cool, tight-knit online group of diehard Browns fans, jointhedogs.com is where you want to be. And it's also a great way to help support the show. And we appreciate everybody who contributes to the show and is a Dog Pack member. Again, we do Dog Pack Discord live episodes. We just had one come out the other day on Sunday that we recorded on Friday. It's a cool way to get everybody on the show, have some conversations, get some questions answered, and just hang out. So jointhedogs.com if you guys want to be a part of that. Okay, if you guys are ready, I know I am. Let's do my personal mock draft 7.0, the final one to wrap up this pre-draft process in 2026. It's been a fun ride. And what's very interesting about this final 7.0 for me is going back and looking at mock draft 1.0 that I did clear back in like February. Yeah, there's a lot of the same names popping up on this mock draft. So the guys that I liked originally on 1.0, very similar to guys that I like here at the very end of the process. Okay, so I wanted to go back real quick because I just mentioned mock draft 1.0. I might as well bring it back up. So I had at 6 the Browns going Cardinal Tate, And then at 24, it was KC Concepcion. So they went, my first mock, I had them going 2 wide receivers. And then after that, it was, let's see, who did I have after that? Jennings Dunker, the offensive, he'll be a guard in the NFL from Iowa. And then I moved into Carter Smith, who is the offensive lineman out. Oh, yeah, that's right. He's offensive tackle, I think, out of Indiana. And then we had Jalen Kilgore, the safety out of South Carolina. Okay, I see what I did now. So I only stopped after those first, 4 or 5 picks or so, just because I was waiting for the draft picks to actually be finalized on what the Browns had and everything. You got to go clear back to February to remember how things were. Actually, that was January 20th. No, when was this? Mock Draft 1.0 was January 9th. So, wow, I was wrong. Way back in January. Okay. So that's just interesting to go back and look at that kind of stuff. But let's move over here right now into my Mock Draft 7.0, and we'll go just a little bit quicker through some of this stuff.
This episode is sponsored by Kalshi. All right, Browns fans, you know, we've all messed around with the sports books before, right? And let's be honest, you're always kind of playing against the house. But with Kalshi, it's different. You're not betting against some sports book. You're trading against other real-world people. There's no house trying to beat you. Kalshi just runs the marketplace. So if you think the public is wrong, like everybody's overreacting to these smoke screens in the draft or sleeping on a prospect, you can literally take the other side of the market. And it's not just sports either. You can trade on other real-world stuff, interest rates, inflation, even wild weather outcomes. It works like this. Simple yes or no markets, your risk is capped up front, and your payout is locked in. So if you trust your takes and instincts, and I know you guys do, go check out Kalshi and see what markets are live right now. So head over to kalshi.com/dogs, KALSHI.com/dogs, DAWGS. Deposit just $20, and Kalshi's going to match you. They're going to put $20 free into your account. That's a great deal to get started. So again, kalshi.com/dogs, $20 match when you deposit $20 into your account.
Since 1989, Mount Hope Fence has set the standard in outdoor living. From decks and railings to fences and patios, we've got you covered. Our lineup features top brands like TimberTech, AlumaGuard, Preferred Railing, and Unilock, along with our own premium Duralux vinyl products. For over 30 years, we've partnered with contractors ensuring reliable job site delivery. Discover quality and excellence in all things outdoors with Mount Hope Fence.
So for me, personal mock draft wish list final before the real thing on Thursday, I got pick 6. I think you guys know what I want to do with that. Carnell Tate, wide receiver, Ohio State. I've talked about him enough on this show. There's really no need to dive into the specifics on him. I know there's people out there, even some analysts are like, this is just a wide receiver 2 is his ceiling. Okay, whatever. You guys, if that's what you believe, that's fine. I don't. I believe that he is an instant wide receiver 1, unless he would go to a team like the Giants that already had Malik Neighbors. Okay, well then he's going to play sidekick to Neighbors and vice versa, because I think both of those guys are really high-level players. If Carnell Tate comes to the Browns, he's instantly wide receiver 1. Make no mistake about it. People say, his ceiling is a wide receiver 2. Well, that would be a huge ceiling on this team because we have nothing at that position worth talking about. So Carnell Tate is the pick at 6. I do think he has a very high upside in the NFL. The kid is a hard worker. He's a smart kid. He's the type of player that if you want to shift your culture, you want to get a good playmaker on the team, a guy that can be a leader in that room, it's Carnell Tate. So that's where I go with pick 6. Moving into pick 24. I'm not doing any trades here in my personal because I got the trades coming in the next one. So pick 24 for me, Caleb Lomu. This is where I've been going. This is kind of my chalk first round mock that I like to do. It's Carnell Tate at 6, Caleb Lomu at 24, the offensive tackle out of Utah. Now, he is their left tackle at Utah. We talk a lot about Spencer Fano, the other Utah tackle, played right tackle the last couple of years. He did start his career at Utah on the left side until Caleb Lomu came in. They put him at the left side, moved Fano over to the right side. So I think Fano you'd probably have to take earlier in the draft. 24, I think, is a good spot to get a guy like Caleb Lomu. And I think if you're looking, I've said this all along, if you're looking for a true left tackle, a guy that you don't have to mess around with trying to say, well, I know you played right tackle in college, let's try to move you to left. And he's actually got the size and the length to play, unlike Spencer Fano. Again, I think Spencer Fano is a very, very good offensive lineman. I don't know if he's going to make it as a tackle in the draft or in the NFL. He's got such short arms, and we talk about how that is a big deal, especially a hit. I mean, if you're right around that 33-inch mark, maybe you're a little under, okay, you can maybe get away with it. Fano's barely over 32. It's like 32 and an eighth. That is a concern. It is. And I think he's going to be a very good guard at the NFL. But again, like Brian Bosar said last week when I had him on, you don't take a guard at 6. So we take Caleb Lomu at 24. Moving into the second round, pick 39. Now we're getting a guard. I'm going offense, because, guys, we need it. And it's Chase Bisontis, the offensive guard out of Texas A&M. For me, Bisontis is just like this big, nasty, he can maul guys type of blocker. I think he projects to me as the type of guard that's going to come into the NFL. He'll be a second-round pick. I have seen a couple mocks where they have him going off in the first, which I thought was interesting. I think he falls into the second. We take him here at 39, and I think he plays guard for your team 10 years plus. He's a guy that's going to come in. He's just going to be an instant starter, pros pro, and you're going to sign him to a second contract, and he's going to be on your team for a long time. He might not be like the highest graded guard ever in the league, but I think he's got some Pro Bowls in his future. And I think Bisontis is going to be a very good NFL player. So we take him at 39 and then pick 70, a guy that I've actually been rising on here recently. I've been posting some stuff about him on social media. We get our second wide receiver of the draft. It's Antonio Williams out of Clemson. And the reason why I take Antonio Williams here, he is like a 92% slot player in college. So he's going to be a slot-specific wide receiver for the NFL and for the Browns. I think they need that. I think that pairing Antonio Williams with Carnell Tate and Jerry Jeudy could be a very smart move for the Browns and really round out the wide receiver core. Because you can move Jerry Jeudy inside, outside. You can do the same with Carnell Tate, but having them at your boundary receivers with Antonio Williams to man the slot, I feel like I like Antonio Williams. I like what he did in college. Strong out of the slot, very, very good against zone coverage, knows how to get into the soft zones of the defense, come back to his quarterback, make plays. His production was down, but so was the entire Clemson offense in 2025 with Cade Klubnik, and everything just kind of fell apart for them. And that really hindered the production for Antonio Williams. But make no mistake, I think he's going to be a very good player as well in the NFL. Now, is he going to ever be like a wide receiver 1 type guy? That's not what I'm projecting here at 70. I'm trying to get guys that can come in and complement this wide receiver room and be reliable options. Carnell Tate's going to be your wide receiver 1. Jerry Jeudy's still a decent wide receiver as much as we knock on him. You get somebody else in there that can alleviate pressure on the offensive guys. Antonio Williams is your man. Get him out there with now Harold Fannin and that kind of. This is now an offensive group that I'm very interested to watch. We've added Lomu to the line. We've added Chase Bisontis. We've got our guys from free agency in the trade for Titus Howard. Now things are looking a little bit different for this Cleveland Browns offense. Okay, last thing about Antonio Williams then real quick before I move to 107. Williams is also a punt returner. He's got punt return ability. I think that is a great, dynamic, versatile asset or skill set to get with this at pick 70. So not only do you get a good slot receiver for your offense, you get a guy that can also contribute in the return game. I'm so tired of having to roster specific players just to be return guys who can't offer any contribution whatsoever on the offensive side of the ball. Like a James Prochet a few years ago. He was awesome like for us in the return game, but he couldn't do anything at receiver. And now we just signed Tylan Wallace from the Ravens. It's same deal. Like he can help you in the return game. He's not really going to be effective as a wide receiver, but you get a guy like Antonio Williams who can be a reliable contributor on the offense at the wide receiver position, and he can return kicks. That's what I'm looking for in this pick. So that's why Antonio Williams is my guy at 70. We'll move a little quicker through here because I want to spend more time on my mock prediction for the Browns after this. But pick 107, Dalen Everett, the cornerback out of Georgia. He's got some inside-outside versatility on the defensive side of the ball. I think we're definitely going defensive back. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. In this draft, with the addition of Mike Rutenberg as the defensive coordinator, you know his specialty is the secondary, and you know he's going to be pushing to get some guys on that secondary that he needs. And I got a little bit of a conversation I was having with Angel Ortiz from the Beard Brown Show that I want to read to you guys. We've got some interesting notes to point out about the secondary players in this draft specifically. But Dalen Everett here out of Georgia is my pick 107. 146, we take Eli Raridan, the tight end out of Notre Dame, one of my early mock draft picks. I've liked him from the beginning, and nothing has changed. I think he is going to be a solid, reliable, inline tight end, your traditional type guy. He can block, but he can also go out and do something in the passing game. Browns need that, and I think Eli Raridan fits that bill. 149, we take Caleb Elarms, or the linebacker out of TCU. This is a guy that Brian Bosarge turned me on to last week, and I've been doing some research on him. I really like Elarms, or I do think he would be a good sideline-to-sideline linebacker the Browns could get here in the 5th round or so, wherever they're picking at 149, 5th round. And he could be that solid, reliable depth piece behind Quincy Williams and kind of your long-term guy to step into, hopefully, that starting role once Quincy Williams' contract here in Cleveland is up. So I think Caleb Elarms or at 149 would be a nice pick. And then at 206, Jordan Vandenberg, defensive tackle out of Georgia Tech. And you just know, like we talked about the thing with Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Berry is always looking at defensive tackles. He has never not drafted one. Obviously, we used the number 5 overall pick last year on a defensive tackle. I think he continues to add pieces to that room somehow, some way during this draft. And here at 206, we do it later, kind of like we did with Juwan Briggs a few years back, Jordan Vandenberg out of Georgia Tech. And then we round things out, 248, Lewis Moore, safety out of Indiana. So that's how I wrapped up my mock draft 7.0 for this season. It's Carnell Tate at 6, 24 is Caleb Lomu, 39 Chase Besantis, and 70 Antonio Williams. The Browns invest heavily on the offensive side of the ball with those first 4 picks. 107 is Dalen Everett, the cornerback out of Georgia. Eli Raridan at 146, tight end Notre Dame. 149, Caleb Elarms, or the sideline-to-sideline linebacker out of TCU. 206 is Jordan Vandenberg, defensive tackle, Georgia Tech. And we wrap it up, 248, Lewis Moore, safety out of Indiana.
This episode is sponsored by Butcher Box for Pets. Browns fans, Butcher Box for Pets has a deal you cannot pass up for your 4-legged family members. Right now, you get 50% off your first subscription order of the premium slow-cooked nutrition dog food or the premium fresh dog food. Just go to butcherboxforpets.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DOGS when you check out. It can get confusing because we're the dogs, we love our fellow dogs, our Dog Pack members, and the Dog Pound faithful. But let's not kid ourselves. The most important dogs in our lives are, well, our dogs. And they're not just pets, like I said, they're part of the family. So the question is, what are you actually feeding them? At ButcherBox, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by vet nutritionists to contain 0 artificial flavors or preservatives. I know our house wouldn't be the same without Odie, our 100-pound golden retriever who thinks he's a 10-pound lap dog. Absolute dumbest dog in the world, but we love him like crazy. And it gives us peace of mind knowing that we're giving him quality food instead of those factory processed blocks from the store. And speaking of the store, no need to add dog food to your shopping list ever again. ButcherBox delivers their high-quality food right to your door. Just choose the delivery schedule that you need for your dog, and you can change, modify, pause, or cancel your plan at any time. So try it out today. Your dog will love you for upgrading their meal times. ButcherBoxForPets.com/dogs and use promo code DOGS, DAWGS, to get 50% off. That's right, half off your first subscription order of the premium slow-cooked nutrition fresh dog food or the premium fresh dog food. Minimum purchase of just $34. 50% discount applies to subscription orders only. 1 use per customer, and you can cancel at any time. ButcherBoxForPets.com/dogs.
So let me know what you guys think about my personal final mock draft 7.0. Do you like the picks? Would you be happy if the Browns went this route? Would you let me make the picks if I did this? That kind of stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Of course, this is not what the Browns are going to do, in my opinion. Let's move over here. This, again, I've never really done this before, but I want to take a stab at it. I'm really going to need you guys to comment along as we go here, and I can come back and read what you guys said as I went through this mock draft scenario for the Browns. An actual prediction based on Andrew Berry's past history, his tendencies, And the whole idea, my personal belief, that the Browns will use the 2026 draft as a setup for 2027 in which they plan to get their franchise quarterback. Of course, you guys know, before anybody gets mad at me here, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm a Shedeur Sanders guy for 2026. I think you have got to give Shedeur Sanders the opportunity in 2026 to prove whether or not he is the guy. If he plays okay or just good enough, well, okay, 2027, you need to be looking for the next guy. If he plays lights out and shows that, yes, he can be the franchise guy, well, great. 2027 is now a load up year instead of a setup year or a get started year. It's load up, baby. Let's get some talent for this kid. Let's go. And if he shows that he's just not the guy, well, same thing. You're set up for 2027. But I believe that is what the Browns' mindset is going to be, and we're going to see it play out on Thursday night. So let me read to you guys, and this will kind of set up what I am projecting for the first round. So this is just some conversation with Angel Ortiz. You guys know he's been on the show. I love Angel. Great dude, great guy. Love collabing with him. He's very well in touch with what the Browns' mindset is and what they're thinking. And that's why this whole conversation with him has been so good. So I said with Mike Rutenberg as the defensive coordinator and the way Andrew Berry has approached the defense the last few, they prioritize the defense. It just is what it is. I said, I think that a safety in the first round is very likely because right now the only safety we have on the roster, the only starter, is Grant Delpit. That is it. The next best safety that's currently under contract is Donovan McMillan, was a UDFA last year. Okay? The Browns don't have safeties. We don't. So I think that is going to be something we need to keep in mind going into Thursday night. So Angel sent me this. He said, hey, here's some research I found about that topic. Quote, he says, it all comes down to the external cat and mouse game of offensive mismatches and personnel groupings. The 12 personnel nightmare. Offenses started relying heavily on 12 personnel, which is one running back, two tight ends. Started relying heavily on that, featuring freakishly athletic pass-catching tight ends. That introduced the defensive dilemma. If a defense stays in a traditional base package, that means 3 slower linebackers, offensive coordinators can flex those tight ends out to the slot and they can torch those slower linebackers in the passing game. But then if a defense shifts to a standard nickel, which is swapping one of those slower linebackers for a smaller third cornerback, then the offense is simply going to run the ball right at the undersized 190-pound corner. So there's your cat and mouse game between the offense and the defense. Back to Angel's message, he says, so what's the solution to this problem for the defense? Enter the third safety. A super safety or a hybrid player offers the perfect middle ground for this problem. They are stout enough to step up into the box and fit the run, strong enough to jam a tight end at the line of scrimmage, and fast enough to cover out of the slot. It allows the defense to match up without tipping their hand. So again, if you got the 3 linebackers on the field, they're just going to flex out their tight ends on the offense side of the ball. If you bring in the cornerback, they're just going to run it at you. Bring in the hybrid player. He says having a versatile safety dropping down also helps the defensive tackles, like a Malik Collins type, to allow them to eat up blocks inside while the hybrid safety cleans up the run. Also, the term positionless player is something that will be on the rise. This was a lot of what JOK provided for the Browns. Remember, he was that kind of that positionless player when the Browns drafted him. He wasn't really your typical linebacker. He wasn't really your typical safety. The dude was a true hybrid player that, yes, got labeled as a linebacker, but he could do all of this stuff. And we have seen what the Browns defense looks like in his absence. It's bad. I mean, the defense has been okay. It's been good. I'm just saying, his absence creates a void that has not been filled because he was so unique at what he did. Angel says players who can play multiple positions, especially on defense. A good example would be Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles in this draft. That's a conversation with Angel that I wanted to point out to you guys. He made a lot of good research points there because it is true. And that is where I see the Browns defense wanting to be. That is where I see Mike Rutenberg wanting to get things to because, again, he's got that background in the defensive secondary. That is his strength, and I think he's going to play to that. So that moves me into my mock draft prediction here for the Browns. Now, real quick, I'll just throw it out there based on that conversation with Angel. Pick 6. If the Browns stick there and Caleb Downs is on the board, knowing we only have one real starting safety under contract, don't be shocked. Do not be surprised. Pick 6. Goodell walks up there and announces that the pick is Caleb Downs, safety from Ohio State. Brian Bosarge said last week, his personal number one best player in this entire draft. Caleb Downs has gotten, I think he has been a victim of I've talked about this before too, prospect fatigue. We get this every year. You get these guys that, okay, this guy's like the generational player, the best player in this draft. And we talk about that all the way back in December and January. By the time you get to April, it's kind of boring to talk about the same stuff over and over. You get people out there that want the clickbait articles, and it's like, well, maybe Caleb Downs is not all that great after all. They do this every year with different prospects. It just happens. It just is what it is. And I don't think anything has changed. No football has been played since then and now. Caleb Downs, if he's not the best player in this draft, he's still one of them. One of the best players in this entire draft. So if the Browns are unable to work out a deal, which I think their priority is working out a trade, but if that doesn't happen, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see Caleb Downs go off the board at 6 to the Browns. But let's talk about some trade down scenarios. Here's what we're doing in my prediction mock for the Browns. So again, I'm just going to reiterate what I said at the top of the show, but I want to outline it once again right here. Again, I get the feeling that 2026 is a rebuilding component to a larger picture that the Browns have in mind. That larger picture revolves around securing their franchise quarterback, like I said, in 2027. And for the sake of what we're doing here, let's just call him Arch Manning. Because I know that's what you guys are all thinking. That's what everybody thinks anyway, that the Browns are all in on trying to get Arch Manning. So let's just call it Arch Manning 2027. So how do the Browns make sure they're in position for Arch in 2027? You need to get as many 2027 first round picks as you can. You need to get capital and assets in that draft. So here we go. Pick 6, we do trade back with Dallas. Like everybody's projecting, I do think it's the most logical and most likely move, the most likely trade partner the Browns are going to find. There has been some rumors about the Jets wanting to move up from 16 into the top 10 to try to get a playmaker. I think they're high on Carnell Tate. I don't know how likely they would be to give up any future capital with them also being a team gearing up for the 2027 quarterback class. Dallas doesn't have that problem. They got Dak Prescott. Big contract, long term, no big deal. They need defense. And this is what I think happens. The Browns are going to tell Jerry Jones, let's make a deal. We'll give you 6. You keep 12. We don't want 12. You go get 2 studs that you like at 6 and 12. Give us 20. We'll move from 6 clear back to 20. But you give us your remaining first round pick in 2027. Now, I'm not just throwing draft pick trade projections and predictions out there without really thinking through them. Trust me, I've spent a lot of time mapping this stuff out. I've been using the Rich Hill draft pick value chart, which according to like Daniel Ofusi and some of these guys from ESPN talk about, a lot of NFL GMs and teams use the Rich Hill value chart to assess whether or not a deal is, in the ballpark. Let's just say nothing's ever going to be 1-to-1 fair, but you want to at least be in the ballpark. So for this, based on the value of that chart, the Browns send pick 6, pick 70, and pick 146 to the Cowboys in exchange for pick 20, pick 92, and their 2027 first round pick. So that's roughly 530 points of value on the Browns side and about 560 points of value on the Cowboys side. Again, that's not an exact number. You got to give or take a little bit. You got a projection on what that 2027 first round pick could be valued at, because it's kind of crazy. If you go look at that value chart, I implore all you guys to go do it, because like the number 1 pick in the draft is worth 1,000 points. The range is huge because the last pick in the first round, 32, goes all the way down to 184. That's a huge range. So when you talk about, well, we want a 2027 first round pick, well, is it worth 1,000 points or is it worth 180? Like that's a huge discrepancy there. It's a big range. So, and for the Cowboys with this pick, the Browns have got to have a little bit more incentive? Yes. Almost said incentivization or something crazy. See, guys, I am sick. I got so much cold medicine. I'm making up words as we go. The Browns need incentive to make this deal because you got to remember, the only pick the Cowboys have 2 first-round picks next year, but the only one available has to be the lower of the 2. So the Cowboys have their first-round pick. They have the Green Bay Packers first-round pick. Whichever of those picks is higher in the first round already goes to the Jets. That's spoken for. So they have to work this out to where they get the Cowboys' other 2027 first, but it has to be the lower of those 2 picks. So yes, you got to give me some value on top of that, guys, for me to take that, for you to come all the way up from 20 to 6 and still keep your 12th overall pick. But I think that trade, that whole scenario is too enticing for Jerry Jones. He takes it. He takes 6 and 12, gives us 20, and we get the first round pick next season. So then we move on. Browns haven't made a pick yet. We got to wait. We got to wait until pick 20. We now have picks 20 and 24 coming up in the first round. So we're waiting around, seeing what other teams are doing. We get to pick 20. Of course, we're all pounding the table. Let's take KC Concepcion, or let's take Caleb Lomu, or whatever. You know, we're talking about this stuff live on the broadcast. And it comes up, and the Browns logo changes once again. It turns red to the Arizona Cardinals. The Browns have traded back with Arizona. And this is based on rumors I've been reading and hearing about from these reported sources that the Cardinals are high on Ty Simpson, the quarterback from Alabama, and they would like to, in this situation, get ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21 to get their quarterback. So the Cardinals are sitting at pick 34. They don't think there's any way Ty Simpson makes it out of the first round to them at 34. So the Browns are sitting there, and Andrew Berry says, let's make a deal. I'll give you guys 20. Get up here, get ahead of Pittsburgh, get your quarterback. We will give you 20. We'll give you 39 in the second round. We'll give you 92, which we just got from the Cowboys, and we'll give you 149, our other pick in the 5th round. Arizona gives us, in exchange, 34, so we end up moving 5 spots up in the second round from 39 to 34. We get 78, so not 78, 65. So we move all the way up from 92. So the back end of the 3rd round, we move to the top of the 3rd round in this deal, and we get their 2027 first round pick. So right here in the first 20 picks of Thursday night, Andrew Berry has now collected 2 extra first round picks in 2027. Now, again, is this likely to happen? No, that's going to be very difficult to pull off. This is kind of one of those pie in the sky scenarios, but I could see them trying to wheel and deal and make something like this a possibility to gear up for 2027. And Arch Manning, let's just call it what it is, Arch Manning. So that's the move. Browns trade back twice. Now we have picks 24, 34, 65, 107, 206, and 248. 24 comes up. We're like, well, here, they just gone trade back again. No, the Browns actually do make a selection at 24, but this goes back to my conversation with Angel Ortiz. And Browns fans are going to flip. There's going to be some crash out, but I do think 24 is pretty much locked and loaded. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety from Toledo. And I'm not mad about it. I think he is going to come in here and be your starting free safety day one, a high-level player. Great compliment to Grant Delpit. And if they want to try to implore this 3-safety type of defense with your hybrid player, you're going to have to find somebody else to help in that rotation. But you have to have your 2 locked and loaded starters. You got to have Delpit. You got to have somebody on the back end. And now they get it. They solidify it. And it's EMW here at 24. It's kind of been my lock. When I'm projecting what I think the Browns are going to do, I always put EMW at 24. So that's it. That's your first round of the NFL draft Thursday night. The Browns come out with EMW and 2 extra first round picks for 2027. So would you guys be mad about that? We pass on all the receivers. We say no on Tate, no on Tyson, no on Lemon, no on Concepcion. I do have an interesting start to the second round here for you guys, though. And we say no to all the tackles. We didn't take Maui Noa. I don't even know if he's on the board at 6. Doesn't matter. We're trading out of that pick. We didn't try to get Proctor or Freeling or any of these guys. We just said, give us picks in 2027. We need that quarterback. We want Arch Manning. We're taking our starting free safety at 24. And that's how the Browns end night 1.
Hey, Browns fans, we just partnered with Fanatics to bring you guys the best Browns gear available. Head over to brownsmerch.com to check out everything in our storefront. I know you guys want that new Shedeur Sanders number 2 jersey. We've got those in there. Rock the Depoy and the D-Roy jerseys with Myles Garrett and Carson Schlesinger, along with the other studs from last year's draft. We've got a collection of Browns hats, T-shirts, and hoodies you can browse through too. Again, that's brownsmerch.com to check out our Browns gear powered by Fanatics.
So it was crazy. It was a crazy night 1 for the Browns. We go into night 2. We now have the second pick on night 2, pick 34 from the Cardinals in that trade in which we moved up from 39. And based on mock draft database consensus, they have a consensus big board, and they also have a consensus mock draft for the first round. Well, guess who they have? And that's like consensus from all of the mock drafts done industry wide. They aggregate all that data, and this is like the composed mock draft consensus from their website. Out of the first round falls Denzel Boston. And the Browns take the wide receiver from Washington at 34. So we get Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, our starting free safety, at 24. And we're still able to get Denzel Boston, a wide receiver that a lot of Browns fans have been mocking to the team, at 24. We get him at 34. He falls out of the first. We get him with the second pick in the second round. So then we sit pat. We still have the pick 65 that we got from the Cardinals as well in that deal. So this is now the top of the third round, actually the first pick in the third round. And this is one where I didn't go through any more trade scenarios moving back. I don't think Andrew Berry's moving up in this draft, especially just based on what he's done in years past. It's sit pat, sit at your spot and take the guys that you want, or trade back and take guys that you want. And I think this is a scenario at 65 where they could trade back, still land the guy that they want, and maybe recoup a little extra capital for next year again. But at 65, we're just going to go ahead, take Oscar Delp, the tight end out of Georgia. I think he's probably one of the top tight ends on the Browns board. They met with him on a top 30 visit. He's worked with or played with Todd Monken before. Oscar Delp, pick 65. That's where I'm going here. And then the Browns have 107. And this is where they get their tackle. They're going to take Markel Bell, the offensive tackle, played left tackle for the Miami Hurricanes. I think he can come in here and be that swing tackle to start the season outside or behind DeJuan Jones, who would, in this case, be your starting left tackle when the season opens, unless Bell comes in and just blows everybody away in camp and takes that spot. But you're getting a big, 6'9", 300, and just freaking massive human being, mountain of a man, just like DeJuan Jones. And he was like the first tackle that was, at least reported that the Browns met with on the top 30, had him into Berea. So 107, Markel Bell. And then they don't pick again until 206, 248. And I just kind of threw some names in here because who really cares at this point? 206 is Pat Coogan, the center out of Indiana. I think that's a smart move for the Browns. I think he could actually be a starting center for an NFL offense. And it's something the Browns could help. Luke Whippler's on the last year, his rookie deal. He's coming off an injury. I feel like he's always hurt too. It's time to move on from any hopes of him developing into that. It's time to reset that position. You take a later pick, Pat Coogan, and hope that he can turn into hopefully a future starting center for your team. And then 248, David Gusta, defensive tackle out of Kentucky. I just took him because Dane Brugler had him at 248 for the Browns in his 7th-round mock draft. So again, Andrew Berrios takes a defensive tackle at some point. Here he takes one at the last pick. Once again, kind of like Juwan Briggs a couple years ago. Just add another piece to that rotation and see what happens. But that is how I have projected out the Browns. Maybe this is more like their ideal scenario, if things could play out the way they want it to. And they work some deals on night 1 to trade back, collect some extra picks for 2027 to go get Arch Manning. Now, whether it ends up being Arch Manning or somebody else, you guys, whatever. But for the sake of this exercise, we're just calling it Arch Manning because that's what everybody's going to think anyhow. So might as well just play into it. So the results of this mock draft scenario prediction for the Browns, they walk out of the draft with Emmanuel McNeil Warren at pick 24. Denzel Boston falls to them at 34. Oscar Delp at 65. Markel Bell at 107. Pat Coogan at 206. And David Gusta at 248. So they get 6 new rookies and they leave with the Dallas Cowboys 2027 first round pick, whichever is the lower of the two that Dallas owns, and the Arizona Cardinals 2027 first round pick. I'm not going to lie to you guys, while I would be disappointed with the overall draft haul, if they were able to pull this off, get a starting free safety, get what everybody has been projecting all along to be one of the top receivers in this draft in the second round in Denzel Boston, you get Oscar Delp, who I really like at tight end. You get Markel Bell, who's he's a good dart throw. That's what I want to call him. A good dart throw at the tackle position in this draft. Then you get a couple guys later that we'll see how it goes. But you were able to tack on a couple extra first round picks next year. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be overall upset with it. The 2027 class next year is supposed to be a lot better. I mean, if you got Arizona, first of all, getting Arizona's first round pick, man, there's always a chance that's number 1 overall. You never know. You never know. You might not have to package anything to move up to get the quarterback you want because one of these picks, whether it's Arizona's or our own, depending on how the season goes, could end up just being that number 1 overall pick. Or it could be like number 3, number 4. And then you package a couple of these other things to move up. The Browns like to give themselves flexibility in the future when they're doing these this rebuild. And I just feel like last year was, again, that first round move was a setup to try to make sure they had some draft capital in this year's first round to move up if they needed to get a quarterback. Nobody in this class worth doing. So they're just going to roll that mindset right in here to 2026 to try to get their guy next year in 2027. So let me know what you guys think. Is that crazy? Is that an insane projection? There's no way that would ever happen? Or is it like, okay, I could see, I don't know if it'll work, if Andrew Berry would be able to do this. But if he were able to, I don't know if he would hesitate. I think that this would be a decent turnout in the Browns' eyes. Maybe not so much in the fans because, again, we want a good team to watch right now. But you add some pieces, some decent pieces to the team here and still get some capital for next year. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. All right, guys, I appreciate you following along with that. You know what? I got my Venti message here, but first, let's listen to this voicemail from Justin.
Friendly neighborhood Browns fan out here in Jersey. Just want to chime in here, probably my last voicemail before the draft kicks off. 2 players that I want to put the spotlight on that I've put this in the Discord chat too, that could really give us solutions on how we can efficiently really go after 2 receivers with our first few picks. And that's Bud Clark out of TCU, can play that kind of free safety back while Grant Delpit plays up. He's an absolute dog if you watch the film. The other's J.C. Davis out of Illinois, who plays that left side offensive tackle. The kid's an absolute monster that you can kind of take a little bit later. Absolutely still on board with Carnell Tate at 6. Even going 2 wide receivers in the first, or at least with our first 3 picks. And I'm also going to get on here and say that we're not wrong to take Jeremiah Love if he's on the board and Tate's not at 6. Absolutely give us a huge identity on offense. All right. You can't say you'd be mad if we came out of the first round with Jeremiah Love because Tate was off the board and say Denzel Boston or KC Conception. You know what I mean? But yeah, those are the 2 I want to put on spotlight. Bud Clark out of TCU and J.C. Davis. Anyway, let's see how this draft goes and go Browns. Woo-hoo.
Thanks a lot, Justin. Bud Clark, J.C. Davis, great names to also be watching out for to see how the draft plays out, to see where they end up going. Do the Browns invest in those guys? We will see. Obviously, you just listened to my mock draft, my predictions and everything. The two wide receivers in the first round is something obviously a lot of us Browns fans are pining for. We would love to see them do that. My holdup this whole time has been Andrew Berry has not yet in 6 years shown any urgency to place any sort of high investment into the wide receiver position whatsoever. Every move he's ever made at wide receiver has been about value and bargain shopping. That's just the truth. That is just how it has played out. You think about guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones, a 6th-round pick, Anthony Schwartz in the 3rd, David Bell in the 3rd, Cedric Tillman in the 3rd. Flips a 5th-round pick for Amari Cooper. A 4th or some change for Jerry Jeudy. Like he tries the UDFAs with Gage Larvidan and Isaiah Bond. It's all about how do I get value out of the position rather than investing heavily into it. And I don't think there's any way in hell they use both picks, 6 and 24 on receivers. I don't think they use 6 on a receiver. I just talked about the trade backs, and then my scenario for them and watching Denzel Boston, which I think is a very real possibility that he falls out of the 1st round. I think that is in the range of outcomes for this draft. And Andrew Berry to be able to grab him at 34 in that trade with the Cardinals, again, that plays into his approach to the position. I got Denzel Boston in the 2nd round. That's how I see them approaching the wide receiver position. So I know, Justin, I want those guys too. I want those top dudes. I just don't think it's going to happen. Maybe we'll be surprised on Thursday and all the smoke around the tackles and wanting to trade back was just to throw anybody else off the scent that we're locked into Carnell Tate at 6 and we take him at 6. Maybe that's what we do. And then we're all going to be super happy and excited as Browns fans. I wouldn't put my money on it. Let's put it that way. So moving on here, last thing today before I let you guys quit listening to my nasally voice. Vinty is back. It's been a while since we heard from you, man, and it's great to hear that you're still watching the show, even though Adam likes to F you all the time whenever he comes on our Discord shows. But Vinty says, one last quick message before the draft. He says, avoid KC Concepcion at all spots. He is not even close to a number 1 wide receiver. At best, he is a Deebo Samuel who drops the ball. We have Malachi Corley for any gimmick plays, and other than the return game, gimmick plays is all that Concepcion will be good for. Okay? He says, I feel like I am being punked with you being high on Concepcion. I think you are talking him up just to get me to send a message saying how insane you must be. Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon at 6 and no KC Concepcion in the top 3 rounds. He also says, I'm scared that the Bengals-Giants trade will make it really hard for Tate to make it all the way to 6. I'm going to be so sad if we take one of those non-tackles at number 6. Well, what tackle do you want at 6, dude, outside of like a Maui Noah, who it was just reported that has a herniated disc that is asymptomatic, but if he requires surgery, could miss up to 3 months or something like that. I saw. I'm like, okay. We messing around with a tackle who's now strictly a right tackle. We're going to try to move him to left tackle, and he's got a herniated disc. Criminy. The options this year at tackle are not good. You can't force a tackle at 6. If they trade back, the target might be a Caden Proctor. Keep seeing those reports. Adam Schefter and Todd McShay. Browns are high on Caden Proctor. Now, again, this could all be leaked smoke bullcrap. We don't know, but it's what's being reported. So to get to your message about KC Concepcion being only a gimmick player, Vinty, I appreciate your messages, man. I don't want to dog on you, but you don't bring any stats or information to back up your claims. In what planet is KC Concepcion a gadget player? Go look at his analytics from college this past season. So he had about 44% of his targets were either behind the line of scrimmage or in the 0 to 9 yard range. So he had 25%. So 1 out of every 4 targets was in the intermediate 10 to 19 yard range. And then 21%, so about 1 out of every 5, was a deep target. I compare that to everybody's new favorite guy because he just had a pro day and apparently he's healthy at the moment, Jordan Tyson. Okay, Jordan Tyson might be the best player in this or receiver in this draft. Let's see. His target share behind the line of scrimmage or in the short range, 45%. What did I say was Concepcion? 44. So about the same. Is Jordan Tyson a gadgety, gimmicky player? Because that gimmick is around the line of scrimmage. So are these guys the same? Casey Concepcion had more targets percentage downfield deep than Jordan Tyson did. And then in the medium range, Tyson was at 33%. And like I said, Concepcion was at 25%. So only 14% behind the line of scrimmage for Concepcion, 15, almost 16% for Jordan Tyson. Casey Concepcion is not a gimmick player. He is not a gadget player. He is a true, versatile, inside, outside, plays every position, wide receiver. I don't know what's hard about that. He just is. He's a very good wide receiver. Does he have a drops issue? Yes, he suffers from some drops. You know what else he had? Actually, I saw this stat the other day. I think he had something like 42% of his targets this year were uncatchable. Was the highest of any of the receivers in this draft class, if I remember the stat I saw correctly. So he had terrible quarterback play with Marcel Reed at Texas A&M. Left a lot of yards, a lot of catches, a lot of touchdowns on the field playing with Marcel Reed. I really like Casey Concepcion. I know not everybody does, but I mean, Jordan Tyson also struggled with concentration drops back in 2024, I think it was. Just trying to pull up those numbers real fast. He had, how many? 7 drops. And that's what Concepcion had this year. So it happens, okay? It's one data point among several that I use, that a lot of people use to evaluate these wide receivers. And, you know, for that one negative data point for like a guy like Concepcion or Jordan Tyson a year ago, if you want to go back and look at those numbers for him, does not do enough to offset all the positive, strong data points that indicate Casey Concepcion can be. I'm not saying he will be, because, again, for wide receivers especially, guys, I mean, landing spot, quarterback play, coaching scheme, this stuff matters so much for wide receivers. So that can really hinder a guy early in his career, but to have all the tools, traits, and metrics to back you up that you can be a number one receiver in the NFL, I just don't know how you look at Casey Concepcion and say he doesn't have it. But Vinty, I want you in the chat Thursday night. Can you please come hang out? Let it be known who you are. Some of the guys from the Dog Pack will be in there probably ragging on you, but we'll have Aaron Butler from the Ravens fan base in there too. He always comes in and likes to make an appearance on our show. He loves the podcast, so we'll always hear from Aaron Butler. By the way, Aaron, how do you like your team's new jerseys? I actually thought that some of the subtle detail designs that they changed up were actually pretty good, as much as I hate that team. But Vinty, come join us Thursday night. Make sure everybody else, you guys, come in 7:45. We will be live on YouTube. We will also be live streaming to Facebook and X. And also we stream on Twitch. I don't know if anybody even knows that. I never mention it. I don't know anything about Twitch. It's kind of my downfall, but we're testing the waters. But anyway, the chat that we will be interacting with and polling the entire night, that one will be on YouTube. There's also going to be a prediction contest. If you guys want to get in on this early, which you can, or if you want to wait until Thursday, I would recommend just kind of waiting until the week plays out, because you don't know what other news or trades are gonna drop. But what we're going to be doing most of the night, following along with the Kalshi prediction markets to see not just for the Browns, we're going to do it for every pick. Who is the leading candidate? Who's the leading market or the market leader for that pick? And then we'll also, obviously, we're going to be highlighting the Browns at 6, 24. If they trade back to 20 or 12, who's the leading guy at that point, yada, yada. But you guys can go to thedogspodcast.com/predict. Okay, that's where the contest is going to be. Again, you don't have to do anything through Kalshi. It's just partnered with them. But it's cool to do this on Kalshi as well. Submit your predictions, and you can have a chance to win a free Browns jersey. You got to get your prediction right to be in the category who we're going to pull from to see who wins this jersey. We're going to give one away at 6. We're going to give one away at 24 if the Browns stick at those picks and actually make them. If they move to 12, we'll do one for 12. But you go to thedogspodcast.com/predict. You select which pick you're making your prediction for, 6 or 24. You can submit one for each one, but you can only submit one prediction for each pick. And don't try to cheat the system. I'll be able to tell if you're cheating the system. You get one pick, one prediction. Just put your name, your email, and then your prediction right there. So pick 6, I think it's going to be Carnell Tate. Boom, hit submit, and you have made your prediction for pick 6. Now, again, if we get to pick 6 and the Browns trade it and it goes to 12, you can come back in and make a prediction for pick 12. But you cannot make multiple predictions for pick 6. You get one shot at it. See if you guys can get it right. And you will be entered to win that free Browns jersey. It's going to be a fun contest as we go throughout the night. And if nobody gets any of it right, then we'll just pull from everybody who entered. So we'll see how it goes. But I think it's going to be a little fun side contest to have going on during the night. So that's Thursday, 7:45, live streaming the entire first round for you guys. Join us in all the action. It's going to be fun. Our reactions to everything that the Browns do, to what other teams do, and just hang out with us. It's going to be a good time. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Tolerating my sickness again. I feel like I can never get freaking healthy anymore. It's just insane. But I'm battling through. We're doing this Thursday. I can't wait to do it. This, of course, last episode before Thursday, before the draft. So if you guys want to follow latest news, reports, our opinions, thoughts on things, follow us on all the socials, and go to jointhedogs.com if you want to be part of the Dog Pack Discord community, hang out with everybody in there and get direct access to us, to our Discord Dog Pack Live episodes. June 1st, registration opens up for the Fantasy League starting in September. So those drafts will be late August, like they are every year, but signups will start June 1st. As long as you are a member of the Dog Pack, you are open to enter and register for the Dog Pack Leagues. So get in now, hang out with everybody, get to know some people in there, meet some friends, and then you can request if you want to be in a specific league with somebody because you want to, go against Brad Moneymaker or Andrew Jackson or Kenny Mack or any of us. So hope to see you guys in there. Jointhedogs.com. Thanks again, guys. Can't wait to see you Thursday. Don't miss it. Live on YouTube, 7:45. We will see you guys from the studio. Me, Justin, Blake, and Kenny. Let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is sponsored by ISSA. Browns fans, if you're into health and fitness, have you ever wondered how you could maybe turn those hobbies and your passion into an actual career? If that sounds interesting to you, then ISSA has the opportunity you've been looking for. ISSA is the International Sports Science Association, and they can help you become a certified personal trainer in as little as 3 months. And right now you can get $100 off your certification when you sign up through our link, joinissa.com/dogs, DAWGS. Now, certifications are 100% online, self-study, and self-paced. You can study anywhere from your phone, tablet, or computer. And the final exam is open note, open book, aka piece of cake. Except you fitness nuts probably don't eat a ton of cake, so let's just call it a piece of delicious protein bar. And ISSA has the #1 job guarantee in the industry. If you get certified and sign up to be a certified trainer with ISSA, you have a job guarantee or your money back. ISSA has over 10,000 gym partners that have over 73,000 open jobs for trainers right now. And you don't need a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree. You just need your certification to qualify for these jobs. So what are you waiting for? With certification this simple, there's no excuse not to pursue your passion and become a certified personal trainer today. Get $100 off your certification at joinissa.com/dogs. You've wanted to make a change long enough? Now it's time to do something about it. That's joinissa.com/dogs for $100 off your personal trainer certification.